Situations, you can talk about so many things regarding our children and our education system. So be patient because I'm going to cover a number of different issues right now. First of all, I'd like to thank Pastor Guns for making all of this happen. As many of you know, Pastor Guns is an important person to me. At the end of the day, he has helped me in more ways than I can say just standing here, and we should be proud as a community that we have someone like Pastor Guns to help our children. It's not every day you get an opportunity to recognize people that do hard work every day and aren't recognized, so I would be remiss if I didn't do that. With that said, excited to be here today, and the theme is Save Our Sons, and I always go back to what does that mean for me? And I always preface this because we all have different experiences, we all have different realities. But as someone mentioned before I stood up here, at one point, someone saved me. As a child of immigrants, working class family, my father left when I was young, my mother raised me by myself, was trying to deal with the realities of life between drugs, alcohol, being a single mother, countless different boyfriends and the rest. I would not be standing here unless the community and education system supported me to become who I am. And so when I go about this work, we may have different last names, we even may have different colored skin and different experiences, but at the end of the day, I see myself in so many of the children that are in our school district. And what I say is, my responsibility is to create a school district that is child-centric, that is a school district that uses every cent, every penny, to make it right for children, to create the system and the processes to support children so that they can reach their God-given academic and social potential. That's my job, and that's what I'm here to do. But I say that in recognition that we can't do it alone. We need stronger partnerships. What I need to do, that no matter what zip code you grow up in, what neighborhood you go to, what school you go to, what my job is to make sure that every day, every classroom, every student, every teacher, we have a situation where children are provided the highest level of expectation regarding what happens academically, from pre-K all to 12th grade. That's my job. But I can't do that alone. Events like this remind us that even if I do that part, which we have a long way to go, but we're going to get there, if I keep on working on that, at some point children leave this school and other schools throughout our county and go home. And what happens when they go home? Is the TV turned off? Are there conversations happening about who you're dating, who you're not dating, the frustrations and struggles that you're having? What are you doing on Sunday? Are you going to church or are you sleeping? All of these things matter when we raise children. And that's what we have to realize, that this has to be a compact. It has to be an understanding, an agreement that we have to do a better job of doing our part, but the community has to do their job in doing their part. And we can't do this alone. We have to start working together to fill gaps for our children, to create the right type of safety network and net, that when children make the wrong decision, that there's someone there to catch them, to bring them back up and say, why did you make that decision? How are you going to make that decision differently moving forward, and how do you learn from that mistake? There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. I made mistakes. All of you have made mistakes. But let's not create a situation where when children make mistakes, there's not someone to talk to, and there's an opportunity for that child. So I need you to be aware of one thing that's very important that some of you may not be aware of. Over the past couple of years, Duval County Public Schools, faith-based community, and a lot of active parents have worked with the Attorney General's office to avoid arrests on minor felonies and misdemeanors. For example, fighting. So over the past years, the understanding was if students fought in school in a simple fight, that they would not be arrested, because we didn't want children caught up in the judicial system for making the wrong decision at a young age. The Attorney General about 2 weeks ago has issued that every battery situation, again, battery sounds like a horrific situation, oftentimes that's just a fight. That is now arrestable. So what we're going to have now is children who make the wrong decision. They should not be fighting, but when they fight, they could be arrested. We're going to see an increase of young children being arrested for a simple fight, and I'm putting this on your radar so that you're aware and we can get the voice out that this is not the right step. Our schools should not be pipelines to prison. And although children will make the wrong decision, they need to be held accountable. It doesn't mean they need to be arrested at 13, 12, 14, 15, 16 years old. There's other ways of handling that situation. I wanted to quickly tell you about that. Let me tell you about what things will look like in 13, 14. In 13, 14, starting 13, 14, we're going to do something radical considering how we've educated our children. I do not want to talk about FCAT anymore. I don't want to talk about reading a passage in education being reduced to is the answer A, B, C, or D. Instead, we're going to do something which all of you would say we should have been doing this a long time ago, which is we're going to teach children how to think. We're going to teach children how to analyze information, synthesize information, discuss, debate, write. In science, we're going to do labs. In math, we're going to do hands-on materials. We're moving dollars from the district level to school level for technology. We have to go, at the end of the day, it's not whether a child can get the right answer on a test. At the end of the day is, are we building children to think, to write, to defend their answers, defend their ideas? And are we creating children that can problem solve? That's the key. Are we teaching children, whether it's reading, math, science, or writing, but life? Are they able to critically think, analyze the situation, come up with a solution, and work with other people? And that's the key, work with other. That's what the industries want. They want thinkers. They want people that can work and problem solve together. We have reduced education to a standardized test. And our children are so much smarter and brighter than a standardized test. And I've already done this. By focusing on the standard and focusing on children being able to think, they'll do better on the test. We have gotten caught up in the process of if we teach the test, they'll do better. And actually, we've reduced the level of education by only talking about a test. I hope that doesn't mean I have to stop. The other thing that will be very different in our school district is the infusion and the reintroduction of music and art. Every elementary school in the proposed 13-14 budget will have a full-time arts teacher, a full-time music teacher, and a full-time PE teacher. At the middle school and high school level, we're moving to a new schedule with 8 periods, 4 periods on Monday, 4 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And very concretely what this means, right now, this is what our children are facing if they're below grade level in reading and math. In reading, this is 6 periods right now. You take your standard reading, language arts or English class. You take remediation reading. You take your full-time, your regular math, remediation math, then science and social studies. Nowhere did I talk about career technical education. Nowhere did I talk about being part of the band program, or taking a chorus class, or taking an arts class. And most of our children who are below grade level in reading and math are not exposed at any level to music, art, or the electives. That stops. That will change next year. So even when a student has to take a remediation reading and math, they can still be in the band program. They can still be in the chorus. They can take an elective or career academy, mainly through technology, that will prepare them for either college, the workforce, and in life. That changes next year. We're adding 30 minutes to the schedule in middle schools and high schools in order to do this. And all teachers through the union have agreed to 90 minutes of common planning. So now teachers are going to be meeting with one another every week to develop lesson plans, visit one another, teach, so that we can do what I said earlier, which is move to an instruction that's hands-on, application-based, and critical thinking. Last thing, and then I'm going to stop. I could go on and on with new things for 13, 14, but let me talk about discipline, because that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. So, number one, this summer, we're revising the Code of Conduct. And some of you in this room, I've already indicated that I'd like you to serve on a task force, not a task force to talk, but a task force to create new ideas for a Code of Conduct. And that Code of Conduct will be clear on two issues. One, what does positive behavior look like? We don't do a good job of telling children how they should behave and then recognizing that. Second thing is we're going to be very clear with what is in practice, what do we not want you to do, and very clearly what are the consequences when you don't do the right thing. But we're going to use progressive discipline. When a student walks the hallway and they're not supposed to be in the hallway, they shouldn't get an outdoor suspension for that. Okay, if a student is late for school, you shouldn't give them an outdoor suspension, but you need a consequence. So that's a phone call home. That's a parent-teacher conference. That is detention. We're going to reinstitute detention after school, on Saturday school. So not only will we revise the Code of Conduct, but this is very radical. We're going to actually teach children what the Code of Conduct says. Because most of our children have no idea what's in the Code of Conduct. Then we're going to train teachers and administrators on what the Code of Conduct is. And this is the most radical thing you may hear, is the district is going to hold administrators accountable to implementing the Code of Conduct in a fair and consistent basis throughout the county. We're also going to train parents on the Code of Conduct so they're aware of what's in that document. Every middle school and high school will have a dean of discipline. And you may have heard of that when you went to school and you had a dean of discipline. I want someone at every school that isn't a processor, that isn't a punisher, but someone that can connect with kids. Someone that, and I was a dean of discipline in the Bronx, in New York City, 4,000 student high school. And my kids loved and hated me at the same time. And I think that's important to say, because my kids, when they saw me down the hallway, they'd go in the other direction. Or they say, hey, Dr. Vitti, or that time, Mr. Vitti, how are you? But they knew that I cared about them. And that's what we have to find deans that care and love kids, but don't love them to death, but love them with high expectations and hold them accountable. And so this dean will focus just on discipline. Assistant principals will still do discipline, but deans will focus solely on discipline. We're also including an in-school suspension in every one of our middle schools and high schools, so that when, back to that progressive discipline, they'll be removed from the regular school environment, but go in the in-school suspension room, we'll collect their work, so they're not behind on their credits and their work, and they'll have a fully certified teacher in that in-school suspension room, not someone that's not a certified teacher. We'll continue to use ATOF, which is the program that allows students, when they do have to give when they are given an outdoor suspension, they can go to, whether it's St. Paul's or other places throughout our community, to be educated and engage with a certified teacher, but outside of the normal school environment to show that there have to be consequences for actions. I want to move away from a blanket outdoor suspension policy where you send children home and just send them home. I don't think that statistically and anecdotally you will all say, when we do that, that's when kids start running with the wrong crowd, that's when kids start the wrong habits, and it's hard to reacclimate them into the regular school environment when you remove them from any type of consistency and adults with high expectations. That's what we don't want to do, and it'll create other problems for our society. The last thing I want to talk to you about, two more things. One is the adult, is overage students. Here at Revolve, Jackson, Raines, we have up to 15% of our students that are overage. And what that means is that they're 2 years or more outside of their age cohorts. And what that does is puts a great burden on teachers and other kids when they're so behind in their credits. So every school that has a high number of overage students, we're creating programs within schools where they'll still be a part of the community. I don't want to send them to an alternative school on the other side of town, but they're still part of the school community. We're going to recruit teachers just for these students. So it's not surplus teachers that we're going to throw into these environments. These are teachers that want to be there. They'll have smaller class sizes. They can still take the elective classes at the school. They can still be part of the athletics and the band program. but we will individualize their work with a social worker and a guidance counselor to catch those students up back to where they need to be in their age cohort. That starts next year. The last thing is the Parent Academy. And I've said this over and over again. I've never met a parent that doesn't care about their child's education. But I just go back to my mother, who was just trying to survive and didn't do well in school herself. She never wanted to step foot into a school because of the experiences that she had. The Parent Academy concept is that it will teach parents how to navigate the system. Who do you call when you have an issue with transportation? Who do you call when you have a problem with an IEP? Who do you call when you have a problem with the principal? How many credits do you need for graduation? How do you fill out a FAFSA form? How do you fill out forms for college scholarships? What is the requirement to pass third grade? All of these questions, a lot of us don't know. We wouldn't know. I mean, unless you're part of the school system, you don't know all of this. And so allow courses we're going to offer courses before school, after school, at St. Paul's throughout our community so that we are going to you. The days of waiting for parents to come to us are gone. It's not working. We need to go to parents. So where parents are, we need to be. And that's part of the cultural change that's happening in our school district. We also need to better educate parents on issues of nutrition, on wellness, on literacy at a young level. Again, I go back to my own experience. My mother didn't even have a high school diploma, but she understood how to develop me as a thinker. Simple things as turn on the TV after the news and say, Nikolai, do you agree with what the mayor just said? Do you disagree? Why? Explain. That's building critical thinking. Or little simple things as taking a 3-year-old walking down the street and saying, looking at a stop sign and saying, what letter is S? And the child points to S. Those are small things that can happen in any home to build literacy and the understanding and respect for education. Thank you for coming out today. I know you had many things that you could do other than being here. I respect that you're here, but this auditorium needs to be full next year as we move forward. For 6 months I've been on this job, and people say, you hit the ground running when you started. How do you feel now after 6 months? And I tell you, looking at you face to face, eye to eye, I am more encouraged today than I was the first day I started. And I'm more encouraged because I've had an opportunity to go in deep into our school district and what's happening in the classroom, what's happening with our budget, how we're selecting principals, how we're selecting teachers. And I see pockets of good things, but more importantly, I see pockets of opportunities. We have to do better, and we can do better, and we will do better. So my level of encouragement is higher because I know this can happen. This isn't just me standing here talking to you. Things are changing now, and things will dramatically change in the start of 13-14. And this sounds like rhetoric. This district will be a national model for public education. We have, and it's not about me. It's not about the school board. It's really about children. We have to make this a national model because our children deserve a national model. Thank you.